This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
Welcome to the House of Hockey podcast. This is episode 17. I'm your girl, Rae Rae.
And I'm Breezy.
And before we jump into some hockey news-ish kind of pandemic style and our pre-show topics, we have to tell you about our guest for this episode, and it is the Florida Caniac. And no, we did not fuck that up. He is a Caniac fan that happens to live in Florida.
Yep. And I actually was confused by it. I was like, Florida Caniacs. Did the team move to Florida and I just didn't know about it? Like, have I been getting this wrong my entire life, basically? And nope, not wrong. He's just a diehard fan of the Canes who lives in Florida.
Right. And we talk about this a little bit in the episode, but a lot of people usually think he's a Canes fan for the University of Miami that's in Miami, and they're the U and they're the Canes. And so there's a lot of confusion there. But we're talking NHL, hockey, Canes. Yep. He just lives in Florida. But we got some really great insight from him on the entire fan base and how devoted they are and what the in-game experience is like there, because I have never been to a game in Carolina, and you haven't either, right, Breezy?
No, I haven't, but I've been wanting to go because obviously they're getting a lot more attention, you know, with their pre or post game celebrations that they have, which we will obviously get into, but it just seems like a really fun place to go. And not to mention, tickets are probably going to be pretty cheap to sit low, and who doesn't like sitting low at a hockey game? So,
well, I don't like sitting low.
You don't like sitting low?
No, I could sit low for like one period because it's fun to be up on the glass and be really close, but I can't see the game action, and I end up spending most of the time looking at the Jumbotron, and I would rather sit up in the 300s to have a better view of the game.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I prefer like right above glass level where I can like see above the glass, because then you're not like, you know, getting the penalty box or the benches in the way, but interesting.
Yeah, I like to sit up high and be able to see how the game is going. I like that bird's eye view kind of.
Yeah.
But
I'd be curious to see where people like to sit. Like, I feel like we would need to do a poll and be like, where do you want to sit?
Yeah.
That'd be fun. That'd be cool to see.
Oh, yeah. I bet everybody has a very different answer. I mean, a suite, obviously, like if we could sit feet in that like perfect 200 level, it's the perfect level. You can see everything. There's no obstruction. You know, you've got your own box, your own bathroom, food. Like, that's the life, obviously. But if you can't do the sweet life, you know, there's that. But anyway, so we talk about a lot of things with RJ, the Florida Caniac. Tune in for that. I think I even get a little heated talking about my Blackhawks. Not surprising to anybody, but it's good. We talk hockey, we talk Kings, we talk Canes, and
Preds. I think we talk about almost every team, to be honest.
Yeah, we covered a lot of it. RJ has a lot of really good insight on the sport. He really follows it closely. He played professionally, and we talk all about that. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into, do we want to do life updates, or should we stick with hockey since we're talking hockey right now?
Well, I say let's stick to the subject of hockey. And one thing that the Canes do very well is their pre-game, which we will get into. So before we get into that, do you have any pre-game rituals that you want to do, like to do, have to do, anything like that?
When I go to a live game, I like to get there early, not really early, but if I can get there for warmies, I love going to watch warmies, and that's when I like to go down on the glass and like, get up close and see everybody moving around and see if they look hungover or whatever. The players look sharp and ready. You can see into their eyes.
Yeah. So you like watching your team warm up. You don't like watching the opposing team.
No, I don't watch the opposing team warm up. I want to know what my boys are up to. And I like to see the opening, the anthem, the whole experience of the beginning of the game. I love the production value that all of the teams, or at least most of the teams that I've seen, put into their video that they play on the Jumbotron, and the dramatic music. It just really gets me amped for the game. And I love having that experience. And every team in the NHL does it so differently. So if I'm going to see a new team play, I want to see it and they change it up. And, you know, I love that drama. I think it really gets you pumped for the game. But other than that, no, that's it. I just like to see before the puck drops, be in my seat, be in there, ready to go. Yeah. That's about it. What about you?
Yeah. Kind of the same. I think I like sitting right at like the corner, like behind the net during warmups, just because they try to hit you in the face of the puck and it's kind of fun. But I do like watching the opposing team warm up, just so I could see how they're performing, strategy. You know what I mean? But I'm the same. I like the production of it. The Kings have a crazy intro to their games. I'm sure you've seen it. They actually have lights that shoot down and like light up the whole exterior of the glass, which is really cool. And they have intense music that plays. So I think that I'm pretty much the same. I like to watch puck drop. My deal. And I always have to have a beer in my hand, obviously.
The anthem always makes me a little teary-eyed. Any time, any game, any sport. It's got like, gives me the chills. I don't know. It gets me excited. And like, you could see it in the look of, I don't know. I think you could see it in the players' eyes. You know, everybody just sort of has that moment of woosah to kind of get centered. Woosah.
Oh, okay.
Like you center woosah. And then you go fuck some shit up on the ice, you know?
Okay. You go from zen to angry. That's cool.
Yeah, right? Isn't that how everybody does it? Anyway,
I guess.
Well, there's been some advancements in the potential pandemic playoff for the NHL with the hub cities, or we're getting closer to figuring out where that's going to be. And it looks like it's going to be in Canada.
Which is really cool because this is no offense to Canada at all, because I am obviously pro-Canada, but Canada teams seem not to make it to the playoffs very much.
At least not to the final round.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool, though, to kind of bring it back, and I think it's smart. I mean, there's a lot of room up there and a lot of passion, so I think it'd be good to have one up there and one down here. So
but it's looking like, I think, you know, as of when we're recording this at least, so, you know, feel free to yell at us on social media if this has changed since we recorded, but it's looking like Toronto and Edmonton are going to be the two. I'm really surprised they're not doing Vancouver, but I can see why, you know, being Canada, whatever, what does it matter? What do we care where they play the games, because we can't go anyway.
Well,
fans aren't going to be allowed.
Isn't Edmonton a little more secluded too?
Yeah. I think it's a little more rural.
I've never been up there, so I wish I had been. Lake Louise, hello, I want to go. But
I still think it should have been. I still don't understand why Vegas has gone off the table. I mean, I know that the U.S. has had very increasingly high numbers of COVID-19 in the last like 2 weeks, and so you know, the country as a whole isn't doing great with curbing the pandemic spread. And I understand the league's decision to want to go to Canada, but Vegas is closed. You know, there's no hotels like we've talked about. It makes kind of sense to be there, but you know, whatever. So hopefully if this even happens, because there was also a report out this week that I think 15 NHL players have tested positive for COVID-19. since phase 2 of the reopening plan. And I mean, that's not great, but I don't know that that's bad. But again, we have to worry about the health of the players like long term, because we just don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know the extent of what the virus can really do long term to people.
Right.
I just think we don't have enough information generally from all the sources of really what the impact is going to be, like long term on a person's health.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's something that I question. It's like, you have a player like Austin Matthews, who's a phenomenal player, right? And he tested positive, and how is his career going to be impacted by this? And it's kind of scary to think about. You don't know, and you just gotta hope that they're taking care of themselves and getting the treatment, and something comes out that'll give us a little bit more insight on what the future looks like for anybody who has been affected by it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all want hockey, obviously, and we love it so much, and we'd love to name a Stanley Cup champion this season. But honestly, if they need to call the season and not put the players at risk, I mean, I'm fine with that. Yeah. Are you fine with that? I feel like we've adjusted through this like several months of pandemic, and now we're sort of, or at least for me, I'm finding a little bit more calm and sort of acceptance of the craziness of what's going on, and not feeling, everything is so out of control. We're nothing is in our control at this point with as far as the pandemic stuff goes. And it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes you just have to, I don't want to say sacrifice, but kind of sacrifice. Like, I'd rather not have it than have it, kind of come back for a couple weeks, just like stuff was open and then now it's being closed again. So I'd rather not have it and make sure everything's, kind of tidied up on where it needs to be, and then just hit it kind of hard next when the season would start. I can't even talk. What's wrong with me?
It's okay. I know what you're saying. Yeah. I know. It's like, when potentially the regular season would have started in October.
Right.
Just say, fuck this season and start over again fresh, maybe even in October. Yeah. I don't even know if that is even possible. Nobody knows. So there's no point to really like hypothesize about what could or could not happen. But I mean, I just want the players to stay safe, and everybody obviously in the world to stay safe and healthy as well. But, it's not worth it if, and I think the league and I think the players, depending on how this all shakes out in the next couple of weeks, I think they'll all make the decision that they feel comfortable with.
Yep. All we can do. I agree.
That's all we can do. Well, life update. You
have a new background.
I have a new background for those of you who watch us on YouTube. By the way, we are on YouTube. We post the episodes over the weekend. You can watch our beautiful faces. But yeah, I have a new background. I am quarantining. I'm in Maine, and I'm on the water, and it's freaking beautiful. And I'm so happy to be here. And I figured we're quarantining anyway. Might as well come out here and spend some time with my favorite aunt and her 3 dogs, which I will anticipate you'll hear them at some point throughout the time I'm here. But I love it up here. If you've never been to Maine, it's absolutely beautiful, especially along the coast. Maine is a big hockey state. It's actually really surprising that they don't have a professional NHL team here, because they have an ECHL team, or at least they used to, because, I don't know what's happening with the ECHL since the pandemic, but they have the Maine Mariners. And I think at one point they also had the Portland Pirates. And I've never seen them play though. The Mariners, I think, started in 2018, and I wasn't here like visiting in Maine at that time to see them play. But they also have a minor league baseball team here too. But Maine is a big hockey town. Hockey's really big here. And I know some of the colleges are really big feeder schools for some of the NHL players. There's quite a few NHLers who've played at some of the colleges here. On the college teams. But I
did not know that.
Yeah, I think
did not know that.
I was listening to a fellow hockey podcast, and some of the people have talked about playing, and Nova Scotia is not far from here. Canada's like right here. And, you know, Boston's 2 hours away. So, you know, there's a lot of Massachusetts people, New Englanders, you know, hockey is really popular over here. Last year when I was here in Maine in the summer before we started this, so there's a college here and you can go eat there even if you don't go to school, right? Like at the nice like mess hall or whatever the fuck is called, the cafeteria. And it's super cheap and the food is phenomenal. And
doesn't Maine have good food in general?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The food here is really good. Like lobster, clam chowder, all the fresh seafood, you know, clams, like oyster, like the whole thing. But we went there because it's not far from where my aunt lives, and we were in the dining hall eating, and it was at the beginning of it was at the end of the summer, so the beginning of the school year, and there's all these guys that look like they play for, you know, there's like the football team that's starting to show up for practices and stuff, and I'm looking and I'm like, I think that's the Maine hockey team. And my aunt's like, how do you know? And I'm like, because they're the ones missing teeth. That's definitely the hockey team.
There you go.
So we walked over and I was like, hi, are you the hockey team here at the school? And they were like, yeah, we are. I was like, cool. Tell me about your season. Tell me where you're all from. And, you know, I told them what I do with my videos and stuff. And this was before, obviously, we had the podcast. But yeah, so I met like the entire hockey team because they didn't have any teeth. But they were wearing also like CCM hats. And one of them was wearing like a Vegas Golden Knights shirt. And like, you don't wear that unless you're really a hockey fan. So, you know, or like a hockey player. But so it was really funny. So
that is funny.
Hockey is all around me. But that's what's update with me. What about you? What's going on in your world?
Nothing new, nothing notable, at least. Just working and staying healthy, I guess.
You're barbecuing like crazy.
I know. I just started a TikTok.
I
was told TikTok is, you know, the thing to do, whatever, and it's easy to grow on TikTok, which I don't think is true because I feel like I've done a lot of research on like how to get your videos, like some views and stuff. It's not going so hot, but I feel like, and I did not use TikTok at all before. So I'm like, how do I even work this thing? Like, I'm like trying to take videos and stop and like, but then I'm like, shoot, well, what if I mess up? So then I realized that you could take videos on your phone, but I take like 1 second videos and I had to like clip them all together in TikTok, which is the craziest thing. My mind is blown, but you can't have a lot of characters for captions, but anyway. I'm way too passionate about this, but
I'm more interested in eating your food one day than I am your TikTok. Sorry.
That's totally fine. But if you want to give my TikTok some views, you can.
Hey, girl, make
it on repeat.
You better make us a goddamn TikTok for House of Hockey.
I did. But I started.
What's on our TikTok? I don't have it.
I did. I think I have 3 videos so far, probably more when this episode comes out. But I basically just take like our clips because I can't do photos because the photo ones obviously don't get a lot of views because you have to do multiple photos together. Anyway, I'm blabbing. But yes, we do have TikTok. I'm working on it, guys. Give us some views. I think we're just House of Hockey podcast on there.
Listen, guys, Breezy's in charge of all the social media stuff because that's like her job in real life outside of the podcast. And I do all the video editing and the podcast editing because that's what I do outside of this in my real life. So that's how that works. But I didn't know we had a TikTok because, like I said, I don't have it. So how would I know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
thanks for setting up our TikTok, Breezy.
Anytime. If anybody has any tips, they want to, you know, kind of walk me through some stuff or whatever, I'll take it. Maine has some hockey, which I didn't really realize because Maine's not on the top priority of my list to figure out if there's hockey there. No offense to Mainers. But if there was a pro team there, I think it'd be fun. What would you name it?
Oh, I mean, you can't go like lobsters. That's dumb. You know, like Maine's known for lobster, but you're not going to be like fiery lobsters or something. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Maine, well, there's the Mariners, there's the Portland Pirates. Yeah, lay it on me.
You said lobsters, right?
Yeah.
Lobsters are probably out of it, but Maine is also known for blueberries.
Yes.
Right? What if they're called the Blue Claws? Oh. That could be cool. I could see a logo.
I like the Blue Claws.
I looked it up too, and corn chowder is also very popular there, correct?
Mm-hmm. The corn in Maine is very good.
Corn comes in what, husks? So what if you call them the Huskies?
Ooh, the Huskies would be good.
Huskies were pretty. I know there is a Huskies team, which I believe are in Illinois. I could be wrong.
And Yukon Huskies, and there's one in Illinois too. Yeah.
Yeah.
College-wise.
I think the Blue Claws would be cool, and then you can get White Claw to like sponsor it, Yeah. See, I'm thinking. I've been on this is day 3 of an egg fast, so all I've had are eggs for the last 3 days, so that does not sound boring to me. Don't ask. I don't know. My cousin and I are on this kick. We wanted to try an egg fast, and I don't recommend it. And I love eggs.
You're literally just eating eggs.
Yeah.
All day.
No, not all day. I mean, God, I'd probably die. But I think you can have a maximum of 6 eggs a day. So
okay. What else are you eating?
Eggs. That's it. It's literally all you can eat are
6 eggs?
6 eggs and cheese and like a healthy fat. So like your butters, your avocado, coconut oil, stuff like that. But it's all you can have. And to be honest, you can have coffee and tea and like water. I mean, I drink, how much I drink over a gallon of water a day. So, but to be honest with you, I haven't had anything to eat today and I'm not even hungry. This egg fast really gets you.
Really?
It really gets you.
Now, what are the health benefits of this and how many days do you have to do this?
They say anywhere between 3 and 5 days.
Okay.
We're stopping at 3 because I told my cousin today, I was like, I have no energy. I literally feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone and I'm floating around all these different cooks of eggs. Like there's scrambled eggs floating here and like a hard-boiled egg coming up here. I don't recommend it, especially if you love eggs. I personally do, and I want to be able to eat eggs again. But right now, just the thought of having another egg is pretty far-fetched. That's probably why I'm not hungry right now.
There you go. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway,
I guess that's a life update.
But what is it supposed to do for you? Like what's
it was
the
my
point?
cousin's idea. Well, I know for sure, like, so if you do like a diet, so like keto diets and like low carb diets, they're also, which I follow like a really low carb diet just because that's just how I have to eat in order for my body to not hate me and be inflamed and all that crap. So it's supposed to put you back in like ketosis and it's supposed to help with like your, like kind of get you back on track to like whatever, move forward. But
interesting.
I mean, we're fine. I'm just
good
that I'm in a brain fog right now of just eggs. I'm like, whoa, what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's toss it on over to this week's episode.
Today we have a bit of warmer weather headed our way. He is an ex-hockey player and gives a fan's true perspective of what happens on and off the ice for the Carolina Hurricanes, all the way from the Sunshine State. RJ, the Florida Caniac, what's going on? How's it going?
Not much. It's just very hot down here. Humidity is crazy. It is a typical Florida day in the high 80s, mostly high 90s in many cases, with a chance of rain at about 4 p.m. every single day.
I remember that well when I lived in Orlando. Every day between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m., thunderstorms come rolling in.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Especially in the summertime. So I have to admit, RJ, that when I saw your name, I was like, wait, that's a typo. He's not Florida Caniac. That's he would be a Carolina Caniac. I don't understand. And now after reading, I understand a little bit, but do you want to explain a little bit of that?
Absolutely. So I was actually born in the state of Florida a long, long time ago, just outside of Tampa, in a small little town called Lakeland. And then throughout my playing career, I actually ended up moving back and forth to a lot. So I played a lot of my juniors over in Toronto for the Junior Marlies at one time. And then somehow I got sent back to Orlando because, hey, it was college time and my mom really wanted me to go to college. So I ended up playing for the University of South Florida for their divisional times. And after a knee injury or two there, I had to try out for my next stage, which was with the Orlando Seals at the time, if you remember that one. League only lasted 1 year. We ended up winning the whole thing, and I tore my knee up again. That was fun. Said no one ever. So I had to stay off and on for a little bit on that. And after about almost a year and a half worth of rehab, then I ended up getting a few small jobs here and there. And the Everblades was one of those teams that called me into it. So I ended up doing a lot of work for those guys. And the way how I actually got that start was actually because they had no goalies at the time. So those goalies got called up and I got to fill in for 2 games for them because they had no one else. And then, believe it or not, in the middle of that second game, I did tear my knee one last time and I had to call it a career. So when it comes to that, they were not the team that drafted me, but they were the organization as the Carolina Hurricanes at the time that actually gave me my shot. So that really was really cool about that. Kind of was the aspect of it. I did do some time over with the Greensboro Monarchs, so I have a lot of affiliations with those guys and some of the youth programs up there in the Raleigh area as well before Shane Willis kind of took over that whole situation. So there's my North Carolina ties with that. So a lot of moving around back and forth on that. But a lot of my experience with the hockey playing days was actually down here in the Sunshine State itself, as crazy as it sounds. And I do have to thank the Hurricanes organization for actually giving me somewhat of a shot to actually be a part of the team.
Wow, that's cool. I had no idea. I thought you were just a guy from Florida who loved the Hurricanes.
I get that a lot, which is kind of funny. And funny you mentioned Florida guy that knows about Hurricanes. When I talk about Hurricanes down here, you could probably take a wild guess what everybody thinks I'm talking about, which is the University of Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, I was like, the weather.
Yeah.
The weather.
Yeah, the weather is definitely a big part of it. But the number one answer, if you're playing Family Feud about my life, it's definitely the Miami Hurricanes.
Baby. My brother is an alumni, so yeah, I should have known that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jake, Nope. If you're listening, I failed you.
It's okay. You would have failed my mother too. She's an alumna of the U as well, but that's quite all right. But yeah, University of Miami would be the number one affiliation everybody would talk about on that one, followed by the weather itself. A lot of people thought I'm just a huge meteorologist nerd when I first brought that up, but that's not the case.
That's funny. Well, there's 2 teams in Florida. Are you not a fan of either one of them? You're just strictly a Hurricanes fan, or can you touch on that?
Obviously the Hurricanes is my number one priority team. They're the ones that gave my shot. I follow them religiously. I still know a few people that work for the organization on a lower level arena field of it, along with some of the minor league programs and the Everblades guys, which they're no longer affiliated with them. It's now Nashville's affiliate as we speak. I still have ties with those guys for sure, but I do a lot of stuff with youth programs down here in Tampa. So the Lightning affiliate and the high school league is kind of a big part of my life right now. I am actually assistant coaching a team I actually started down here, which was George Jenkins High School in Lakeland, Florida. They didn't have a hockey program until my junior year, and took some finagling, some petitions, and quite a lot of backup to help me out with that. But that's kind of an all in the past thing. That's a whole different show if you want to get into that. But I'm a big part of that program. I do a lot of things with some stuff on the side over RDV in Orlando. I don't mess around with some other rinks here and there because they're a little bit of a drive, but those are the 2 closest rinks that have the best facilities to do what I like to do. As far as Florida goes, Sunrise, I do some small things here and there. I do work with some of those guys. Ole Jokinen's kind of a big part of it down there as well because he's a retired Florida Panther. He does his own skating academy out there, and sometimes I'll skate with him here and there with some goalie drills and things like that because he doesn't dab a whole lot into that. He's got obviously a more qualified guys to do that, but when I get the chance to do so and they give me the call, of course I'll hit down there for that. As far as fan affiliation goes with that, I'll support the teams. That's really about it. When it comes to Carolina, it's no holds bar. Let's face it out there. And if you go down to Sunrise to watch a Hurricanes Florida Panthers game, it's 50-50 fan base. When you go to Tampa and watch Carolina play against Tampa, it's a 95-5 fan base in favor of Tampa. Let's face it. Obviously, they're a little bit more in the hockey world than that one. Florida down there in Sunrise, the market's not that great. It's not a huge affiliation. It's in a bad location. It just doesn't really attract the hockey people we have out there versus Tampa.
Nice. Well, I had no idea about. I mean, Sunrise. I think we all kind of know that it's pretty limited hockey world down there, but yeah, interesting to hear that it's still 50-50 with Canes fans.
Well, it's kind of hilarious about their stuff. Their youth program is by far one of the top 5 best youth hockey programs in the nation. St. Louis being the top one, Dallas being the second best one. Tampa's kind of a top 10 tier, but believe it or not, Sunrise, Florida has one of the best youth hockey programs out there. So they actually market to the youth very, very well and attract a lot of talent to come down there. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of the players that have retired and have settled down in Florida. So you got to keep in mind the type of ties and the type of affiliations they can attract down there. Same thing for St. Louis as another example, because they have so many people that retire and stay there, which is why their youth programs develop so much quicker than any other programs out there. So I will give the Panthers credit for that.
Yeah, they've got the youth movement happening, but they don't have the current fans. That's an interesting dynamic that they've got going. But I think that's a good. It's fair. It's good. It's good to work on the next generation of hockey, though. And if that's the way it has to go to build the fan base in those areas, that just might sort of be the case. So why don't you tell us a little bit about? I mean, a lot of it about being a Canes fan and like Canes hockey. I have never been. Breezy, have you been?
No, I haven't. I actually really want to go to a Carolina game. I think it'd be really cool. The atmosphere looks pretty fun. Obviously, they have their incredible, rituals after the game. So, yeah, I'd love to hear more about the games.
All right. So Pnc Arena is actually nowhere near downtown Raleigh. It's about a 10 to 15-minute drive away from the downtown area. So much like a lot of the locations of the NHL arenas, they don't have a great location when it comes to where they are versus the downtown areas, if that makes any sense. Tampa's right in the middle of downtown. Sunrise is in the middle of sugarcane fields somewhere else, who knows where in the world. But other than that, Carolina is about a good 15, 20 minutes ride away from downtown Raleigh, which isn't a bad deal. And they do gain a lot of traffic, and it's right off the highway, which helps out as well. When you actually go up to a facility, it's one of the few arenas that has its own parking lot. So you don't have to worry about going to a garage or going to somebody else's property to pay who knows how much for parking at a time. It's just all right there in one big facility. And it shares the same parking lot to NC State's stadium as well. So it's right next door to each other, which is the location of the Winter Classic, not Winter Classic, the Stadium Series next year, assuming everything starts properly with next season, as we all know what's going on out there.
Wait, so is there tailgating allowed, like in Long Island when you go to Nassau Coliseum?
That was the next part I was going to get into. Tailgating is the number one thing that people do out there, and people show up literally at noon to start tailgating for a 7 p.m. hockey game. It is outrageous. There is one main group that took over another main group. It's the original group that you guys have probably saw on NBC Sports was called Section 328, where JR was out there and was in the middle of that tailgate. That's that big section. And they took over an entire wing of that parking lot. It's a big, big party, and it's like huge. There's like 4 tents set up. There's obviously grilling going on. I mean, it's Carolina. You can't have a tailgate at Carolina without Bojangles and barbecue. Let's face it, that's what's out there. So you have all that, and it's just a huge facility. Of course, there's alcohol everywhere. I mean, alcohol galore, and half the people are probably plastered before they even put their tickets in and go into the facilities anyway. If it saves them money, hey, why not, right? But the affiliation that took over that is now called the Red Eye Rowdies, which is the same type of thing. They actually do a little bit better marketing for it, and they've actually gained so much traction. So those tailgates are bigger and badder, and they're not the only tailgate. It is like going to any football game where you just see tailgate after tailgate after tailgate after tailgate. You rarely see a vehicle that does not have a tailgate set up. It is the biggest thing out there. I mean, it's Carolina. They pioneered tailgating in hockey. Let's face it. And that's the best part about it. And of course, I cannot stress this enough. If you're not barbecuing out there, you're not doing a proper tailgate.
Breezy, you'd fit right in. Breezy's barbecue maven. Is that the right phrasing? Yeah.
I mean, I'm down for it. It sounds like a great time. I think we got to make our way down there. That's for sure.
It's definitely a must do. I mean, when you go into the rink after your tailgate's done, and of course all the entrances are going in, you're scanning your ticket in, and you have the eye is like right there in every corner. So you have shops hitting you from left to right. They just renewed the lease to that place, so now they have an additional 5 years added to PNC Arena. So that lease ended in 2024. It will now end in 2029. So anybody that was rumoring that this team was moving to Quebec, you guys can all shut the hell up on that one. They are not going anywhere, and especially with the owner like Tom Dundon out there for sure.
Wow, good to know. So what's it like being, at a Canes game? Like what's the atmosphere like? What are the fans like? I mean, you obviously said they've been tailgating for the most part all day.
So are they just like shit-faced and don't know what's going on? I mean, or is everybody paying attention?
I would say about 20% of them I run into after a tailgate are totally shit-faced. Let's face it like that. Now, some of them just have a high tolerance and just keep buying and buying and buying. Hey, that's on them, whatever. But overall, it is some of the nicest group of people you'll run into on a fan base. They don't have Carolina doesn't really have a true rivalry. Let's face it, up there, unless it's unless it's like the Ranger fans. I would say the rival, not that really the team a whole lot, the fans, because there's a lot of Ranger fans, a lot of Pittsburgh fans, a lot of Boston fans that live in the area. Let's face it, much like Florida, it's a good place to retire. So you get a lot of outside fan bases that kind of flaunt those games a lot. I would include the Islanders as well. Sorry, Islander fans, I would deal with a Rangers fan more than an Islander fan. So sorry, guys, on that one. But with that
don't apologize ever. Own your shit. Own your shit. Own your team. Own your fandom. Own it. We can all chirp each other. You're not saying anything negative. Own it.
You got it. You got it. All right, no problem. Fuck you, Islanders.
There you go. Anyway, there you go.
So anyway, what I was getting to is let's take all that out of the side, okay, and just go and focus on the game itself. Well, first off, they just spent $4 million on a brand new Jumbotron that goes from blue line to blue line. So it's just the same size as Amalie Arenas in Tampa. However, it's a little bit wider when it comes from sidewall to sidewall. It's a little bit wider on that aspect. So the viewing from the Jumbotron side, much, much nicer than the old school style, which was just like watching a little itty bitty 42-inch TV up on the screen. Not anymore. It looks beautiful up there. And it was a much needed upgrade for that facility overall. And they are in line to do a bunch of other upgrades. They just got done with the Jumbotron, and prior to that, they got done with all the player facility part of it. So the locker rooms got an upgrade, the training room got an upgrade. They now added a player lounge area now where they could do whatever they want in there. Where if they want to sit there and chill out and play some ping pong or some arcade games, some air hockey, and just chill and lounge around, they added a whole new part of that facility for them on that one as well. They redid their Olympia, which a lot of people call it Zambonis, but they call it Olympia, whatever.
Wait, why? You're saying a Zamboni is called an Olympia?
Yes, PNC calls it an Olympia. I don't know why. I call it a Zamboni. I don't get the reason behind it. It makes no sense to me. But when you go around and you deal with the marketing people or promotions people, say, hey, do you want to ride the Olympia in the middle of periods and watch them clean up the ice? I'm like, you mean the Zamboni? No, we call it Olympia. I'm like, no, it's a Zamboni.
What's the music? What's the is there chanting going on? Are they
there
saying
is. So, all right, okay. So we have Mike Whiting, who is the biggest ambassador of the Carolina Hurricanes. His boss is actually Eric Cole now, which is a former player, as you know. But he's a awesome dude, one of my favorite people I run into all the time, nicest guy you'll ever meet. You guys should go up and shake his hand. He's always working with the kids a lot and getting them involved in the game, at the game, doing drawings and colorings and things like that, stuff kids would do at a daycare. Anyway, he has this giant horn and he just, and then everybody goes, let's go Canes, every single 5 minutes on the tee every time. Another chant that goes on all the time is when the opposing team gets a penalty, we chant cheaters never win, which is a huge phrase that goes on out there. And then it kind of gets into the hype music and things like that. For those wondering if there are a lot of country music that goes on in the games, no, and I'm so glad. It's just a lot of normal stuff you would hear at an arena, a lot of hype up music and things like that. The same stuff you see on a Jumbotron and every arena is out there as well.
What's your goal scoring song?
It is P.D. Pablo's North Carolina song.
Come on, raise up, take your shirt off.
Yeah, that's
twist
the
it around
one.
your head, spin it like a helicopter. That was my jam in college, like end of high school, probably.
Yeah, so
that's a good one.
It's a pretty good one. However, if you look at a lot of YouTube ratings on that one, they lower in the lower 20s. So I don't know why that is, but I think it's one of the better ones. But how they got that song was the team did a voting on 5 different songs on you could pick the goal song. I don't remember all 5 of them, but I distinctly remember 3 of them. P.D. Pablo, the Brass Bonanza as a remix, which is the old Whalers one, as we all know, and a song from Muse, which was actually pretty catchy. And I voted for that one because I thought it would have went really well with like a bunch of Hayes or O's and Let's Go Canes type stuff. It would have really went well with that. But everybody wanted the PD Pablo one because it was actually tied to North Carolina some sort of way. So it made a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah, duh. I support that. I would have voted for that. But I'm always here for a cheesy like analogy or something that just makes sense. But can we talk about the bunch of jerks and Justin Williams and the whole Storm Surge post-game winning ice celebration, and what do you think about that as a fan? And then tell us if you do like it. What was your favorite?
Okay. I will get into the very big. I'll get the elephant in the room out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what was said by Don Cherry, right?
Right.
So we don't need to talk about him. We understand that. Right. But do you like this sort of thing that the players do or not?
Well, first off, you need to watch my episode 5 of last season about how I talked about John Terry and how much of a jerk he really is on that. Second of all, for those that don't like the Storm Surges, I'm going to knock this out of the way. You are old. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to respect the game the way it is and shut the hell up. The Storm Surge is awesome, and it's what hockey needs today in today's society. With that said, I love it. Obviously, I enjoy everything about it. It was actually an idea brought up by both Williams and Brindamore. For those that are wondering on it, I would say it was more Williams wanting to do it than Brindamore, and Brindamore just flat out went with it and said, okay, just remember we have playoffs coming up, and if we make the playoffs, don't be doing that, because it's all about keeping your energy going and everything like that. So I understood why they didn't do it in the playoffs. As far as my favorite Storm Surge of all time, there's quite a few of them. There's the limbo, there's the W domino effect that was shaped as the W. There was the bowling one. There was the Svechnikov sliding into the goal. But and there's the NBA one, and then there's the duck hunt one, which is a lot of fan favorites. But the one that got a lot of people's attention that I wish they repeated was the Thor stick down that Brock McDinn did at the middle with everybody around him. That was by far the most favorite one of all time. And I just
who's the wrestler they had come out? Mike Tyson? No.
You're talking about Evander Holyfield, the boxing one. Yeah, yes. He's an ear and he's a half an ear short away from a full ear, and
that's right. That was pretty funny. Breezy, what was your opinion on the Surges? I thought it was cool. I thought it was a unique thing for the Canes. I don't think that every team has to do that, but I'm sure every team could find their own sort of thing that matches with their fan base. I think that's where it really resonates. And I do agree with the not doing that in playoffs. I do think the playoffs are, this very traditional, serious, intense sort of like thing that happens, and everybody respects it a lot, I think. And I agree with that part of it, but I thought it was fun. Breezy, what did you like it, or were you anti?
No, I'm all for it. I think anything that kind of gets the fans involved, and also team bonding too. Like, there's just something about it, the atmosphere that's in there has to be absolutely on fire when they're doing it. So I like it. I enjoy seeing the highlights come through. I always wonder what kind of craziness they're doing this time. I have to agree. The Thor one was definitely my favorite. I just think it was so cool. So I'm a fan. I don't know if I think other teams should do it. I think, the Canes kind of own this. I think other teams can do something similar, but I mean, you can't
you would never see this like in in New York at a Rangers game. No. Like New Yorkers would be like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, they would be like, this is why we're here. There would be beer
thrown on the ice all the way through.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be a disaster. Especially if Tortorella still coached there, it would not fly, period.
No. So, and just
now, funny thing
just like in Philly, like you wouldn't see this in Philly because Philly has Gritty, and Gritty is the perfect thing for that fan base, for the fan experience, for that entire organization. Like each team has its own thing, and I support this for Carolina.
The Storm Surgers, I believe, is an absolute perfect fit for this organization. This team for the past, since 2011, I would say, after the All-Star year that Carolina had, it has been a complete downfall of fan base attraction and everything like that. And of course, the ownership just kind of gave up, and Rutherford wrote some of the worst contracts you could possibly imagine that we have finally, as an organization, gotten out of those. That Eric Stahl contract was just a nightmare. And I would even say the Alexander Semin contract, they are still paying for 2 more years. That's how bad that contract is. Yeah, $4.5 million on the hit just every year until that gets freed up. It's awesome. Anyway, Storm Surge is a perfect fit for this organization. It's definitely attracting the kids, which is a big piece of it. You're attracting your younger fan base. And you're attracting more people that have no idea about hockey whatsoever, and a state that is not well known for the sport itself. So if you could do whatever you can to attract that, I'm all for it. Absolutely. I don't care how ridiculous it looks. If it gets butts in the seats, I'm putting my money in. That's for dang sure. Now, to touch base on the mascot, Stormy is one of the very few mascots that actually has a girlfriend mascot, for those that don't know. You don't see him a whole lot on TV, but her name is Caroline. She wears a really weird skirt with a white top, and it's also a pig. So
what?
there are 2 mascots in Carolina that not many people know about.
Is Stormy also a pig?
Yes, Stormy is a pig.
Oh, okay.
And the reason for the pig is for the barbecue ties, is what everybody thinks, but it's actually because the facility that it is brought upon was an original pig farm. So that was kind of the main tie around it and everything like that. And there's a third mascot technically during Whalers Night. Pucky the Whale does show up during Whalers Night, so they always bring him out of the closet sometimes.
Wow, that's I'm starting to like this Carolina Hurricanes dynamic for fans and in-game experience. I respect this. You guys are really devoted to it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about playoff hockey, since we were kind of on the whole storm surge and whatnot.
Sure.
It looks like the Canes would be matched up with the Rangers, if I read that correctly, which they have pretty much the same amount of stats. I mean, they're kind of neck and neck. I mean, how do you think that the Canes are going to, play up against them? You just got Joel Edmondson from the St. Louis Blues right when the season started. So you add it to your blue line. You have Justin Williams back, who brought the cup to the Canes for the first time. He has 2 more under his belt with the Canes. How do you feel with that kind of leadership, and just knowing that you have so much, kind of, what's the word I'm trying to go for? Experience, maybe? How do you feel that they're going to perform in this playoff format?
Do I like this matchup against the Rangers? Absolutely not really. This is a team that the Carolina Hurricanes have struggled against when it comes to, I wouldn't say defense or offense, just actually putting pucks in the net. And that's the key of this series, is going to be the goaltending. Henrik Lundqvist is one hell of a goaltender. We all know it. Hall of Fame numbers all the way through, despite the lack of a Stanley Cup, even though he's got a few gold medals under his belt. I believe 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken on that one. With that said, Mrazek or Reimer, whoever will be playing in net for this team, has got to step up like they did last season when they made that huge, well, mostly Mrazek because he was with the team last season. It was McElhinney as the backup last year. But Reimer has to be ready to go if Mrazek can't go, or vice versa, however that's going to work out all the way through. So goaltending is going to be the main key piece of it. I think Carolina's going to be set on defense, because not only do they have Joel Edmondson, they have Jacob Slavin, which is the most underrated player of all time and winner of the accuracy contest, which, let's face it, nobody in the league expected Jacob Slavin to win a single all-star skills competition, let alone be there. Everybody was expecting Aho to be there or anybody else to be there, let's face it. And I was very happy that it was the well underrated Jacob Slavin, which after everything is said and done, will no longer be underrated. They also have another key defenseman coming back, which I'm looking forward to seeing as well. And that is the man from the New Jersey Devils himself. So that is a big key piece there. Why is the name escaping me? I have no idea. They just picked them up. And we also have Shea from the New York Rangers as well, which is another defensive pickup that this team got from those very same New York Rangers. So you're also going to get somebody
that they're playing. So
exactly, he's going to know the organization left, right. He's going to know what makes them tick, what works here and what works there. So you're going to definitely take advantage of that. When it comes to bench play, there's going to be a lot of mix-ups going on there. I know from my experience and from what I've saw on the benches, Brindamore is going to mix those lines up until he finds a line that works, especially in those first two games. You're going to see a lot of changes here and there. You're not going to see Aho and Teravainen on the same line all the time. They're going to have a different partner with them, whether it's Williams, whether it's Fesnikov coming around throughout, whether it's Jordan Stahl moving around with Teravainen. It's going to be a huge mix-up out there. And they have Vincent Trocheck, so keep that in mind. That's a huge piece that they added as well before the trade deadline. Although he had a not so great season with Florida during this year, I think that's a bigger pickup than expected. And I think he's gelled much better with this team at a lot faster pace than he did with Florida for sure. But at the end of the day, it's going to come to the goaltending, I feel. I think the defense I'm going to say defense is going to be in favor of Carolina. Offense is going to be a slight edge to the New York Rangers. So I think when it comes down to all that, it's going to come down to goaltending. If you want to put an advantage out there, let's say maybe Carolina.
Yeah, definitely fair. I think I have to agree with you. I think that the Canes are pretty strong on the defensive line. So I think the goalie is going to be the killer right there. Got to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Without goaltending, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. It's do you even think this is going to happen? Like, do you even really think they'll play? I'm still a little on the fence that we'll actually see this.
I think it's going to depend on the chosen city when it comes down to it. If I had to put a betting play on it, I would say Vegas and Toronto, but I would also give an outside edge to Edmonton for one simple reason. They have no cases and they have so many hockey facilities to handle that. The only question is, do they have enough hotel accommodations to handle all that? To going forward on that one.
I was having a conversation with some friends the other day, and they were saying that they were placed bets that Toronto would win the cup this year, just because it would be the most Toronto thing to do, to win in the like most ass backwards season that like doesn't technically count because they didn't play a full year, and like that would be Toronto, and like then people could still give them shit for not actually winning in a regular season. Sorry, Breezy. I know you're a Leafs fan, but I mean, come on, you've got to admit that's like
the worst thing already happened to Toronto. The Raptors won a championship more recently than they did. That's what it comes down to. So Toronto has to win regardless, just so they don't look like they have to be the stepchild of the city.
I know. I'm not shitting on Toronto. I just thought that was funny, but I'm sure Toronto fans don't find that funny, right, Breezy?
No, they probably don't.
Breezy?
No, it's not. Plus, like, you gotta figure you wouldn't be able to have a parade. I mean, come on. That just stings.
But that would be like the most Maple Leaf thing to do.
No comment there. No comment there.
I mean, you know, to me, the best team win. How about that?
Speaking of,
what?
We got to do a prediction. I mean, obviously we're not going to hold anybody accountable here, but I mean, if you had to place, you don't even have to place a bet. Like, who do you honestly think would make it to the Stanley Cup final, and who do you think would win?
I would give it to teams with the younger legs all the way through, because if you have, let's face it, Pittsburgh, I would say not going. That's the number one team I think is going to go down, along with Washington, believe it or not, because they both are some of the older teams in the league. So when you have a long layoff like this and you're trying to get yourself back going, it's harder as an older player to really get those legs back up and going and be in the proper shape. It takes a lot longer time to do that. And with that said, I don't see those two teams going, period, because of that alone. If I'm a betting person, Tampa would be a big one to possibly do this if they could get past Columbus this time around. With that said, and not get swept in the first round after the seeding goes. But I think that it determines on the seeding on the top four, because there could be favorable matchups for some teams, whoever moves up and moves back and things like that. If the matchup's in favor of Tampa, I would say Tampa would actually have a very good chance of winning the East because of the talent level they have and the young player roster that they do have, followed very closely by Boston, because let's face it, Boston's a machine no matter what happens. As long as Brad Marchand doesn't lick everybody half to death and doesn't look like an idiot. Oh, wait, he does it every time. As long as, that team just stays square and their goaltending stays the way it's been, I wouldn't count Boston out entirely either. When it comes to the West, I'm gonna throw a little bit of a monkey wrench out there. I'm gonna give it to Vegas. Why not? That's a well-coached team, even though they changed coaches to somebody else I'm not more of a fan of, but I'm okay with that change because it was kind of a needed change, but wasn't necessary, if that makes any sense. I guess it was one of those like light us fire up their ass type hires, and that's exactly what this team did. So I would kind of give an edge to Vegas, and I'll give a dark horse out there on the West. Edmonton, I'm going to throw it out there.
You think the Blackhawks are going to lose to Edmonton in the first round?
Yep.
I don't.
Sorry. Well, let me explain, please. Let me explain. I'm
not
going to say it's going to be easy, but for Chicago, I'm not sold on how that lineup's going to be, because if Chicago keeps Taves and Kane on the same line throughout the entire playoffs,
they'll win, right? But
no, they won't. No.
Why?
No.
I think they will. That's the biggest downfall the team has had all season. They will not play Kane and Taves on the same line, and that's why they've had the shittiest fucking record ever.
Because you're top leveling your lines. You need 4 lines to win this year in today's NHL.
Yeah, but if you gotta, it's about winning each game. Who cares? Run them into the ground. We pay them a shit ton of money. They should be playing on the same goddamn line, and we should be trying to get into the Stanley Cup playoff, the finals. Period. The end. They are not coaching that team correctly, in my opinion. I'm a Blackhawks fan, if you didn't know.
I wonder what gave it away with your original 6 background there. But anyway, and wait, Chicago's on the bottom of that list. I don't know why. But anyway.
I know, but like, if they do, they're not being coached correctly, period. Even if you split up Kane and Taves, fine, but like the other lines are not merged and not working well at all. But Edmonton has 4 lines? You're going to say they have the depth? I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying no. That's not what I'm saying. Chicago needs to separate it simply because you have an even playing ground. Keep Taves and Kane as your power play lineup for sure, and as your emergency line if you need to make a run. I guess I teach their own on that one. That's your opinion versus mine. That's all fine.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you. I just get a little heated.
That's fine. That's fine. I love it. But I'm just a firm believer of having 4 equal lines, and if you can make your lines equal, you're good to go on that one. Edmonton, I will give you that. They don't have 4 lines. They have 2.5. Maybe. Flat out. But they have McJesus on that team, and they have Draisaitl, who has completely come out of nowhere to be an amazing player. You don't have to those guys do not have to play together, period, to make any traction whatsoever. So if I had to pick a dark horse, I'm going to go with Edmonton. I don't like that pick, but if I had to pick a dark horse, I'm going to go with it. I'm not completely sold on Chicago just yet. If Chicago maybe had that one extra defensive player that wasn't hurt, like Calvin DeHaan, sorry, he's an ex-Cane, and I know how injury prone he can be. If Calvin DeHaan is fully healthy, maybe I will switch that around. If he can play
if we had
series,
Seabrook, if Seabrook hadn't been out with his 50 million surgeries, it could, they're definitely, teetering. Right. I would like Breezy to offer her thoughts, and then I would like RJ to offer his thoughts on her opinions based on Breezy is a fan of 3 teams, Kings, Leafs, and Preds, and 2 of her 3, just because of odds, are in this playoff because she has more teams she's a fan of. That's all I mean. So Breezy, what do you think? Where do you think your Leafs and your Preds will be? And then RJ react to her predictions.
Gosh, it's so tough, and I feel like the season it was so distant at this time that like I almost kind of forgot everything that had happened. I think the Leafs are still they still need some help. I think that they could potentially move on to the next round. The Preds, they're struggling, their lack of chemistry. I mean, Roman Josi can't carry the entire team throughout the entire playoffs. Although I would like it, the team seems like they're getting ready and they're excited to play together again. I just think that they're still lacking somewhere. I think they need some more chemistry, and I've always spoken on chemistry, which I know is a huge no-no to probably do, but I kind of just say what it is. I say how I'm feeling. So it's tough to say. There's so many good teams that are up there right now and unexpected good teams. I mean, the Canucks are doing really well. The Coyotes are doing really well. I think that they have a better chance than both the Preds and the Leafs, unfortunately. And like RJ said, you got to have young legs, and those are the two teams that have the young legs, and I think that they're going to do really well. And unfortunately, although the Leafs have some young legs, they're still struggling. I think that they need a little bit more leadership going on there. And, big fan of JT and the whole, line that's going on there. But, yeah, it's a tough call. And I think that we're going to have some unexpected teams make a really solid run. And I think someone unexpectedly is going to win it this year.
Toronto, I feel, needs to make a deep playoff run this year, no matter what. I don't care how short this season is. I don't care what's going on with the situation at hand and how this is playing out. If Toronto can't make a deep run, that team will be blown up by the end of the season somehow, some weird way. You have three guys, I think 3 or 4 guys that make up literally half your salary cap. Half, yep. Which is insane to believe. You cannot make a team around that. You have great scoring, but you have no depth after that. Nothing. No defense, no goaltending, nothing. You have a bunch of scrubs out there playing with their teachers. That's what I have. That's what I see out there. That's exactly what I see out there. So if they can't get past Columbus, which is actually a shockingly crazy good team, well coached with anybody knows a single name on there except maybe Seth Jones. That's about it.
And
I would be
Elvis,
scared of that situation.
Their goalie.
We'll go with that, I guess. But I mean,
and Cam Atkinson, he's a 2-time All-Star, and most people don't even.
Well. But that's it. That's it.
It's just because it's Columbus. They don't show up on the national radar.
No, they just sweep Tampa and go into the next round no matter what. But anyway, so with that series, I just Toronto. It's make or break for Toronto, no matter what. I feel, and when you get rid of literally one of the best coaches in the game and need to try to switch things up, and you bring your AHL affiliate coach to come in and kind of turn things around, that's a scary situation. Which means if they can't turn the corner, that's going to be some weird, interesting rebuild, a rehash, or something. To get that team to be competitive properly. Although they can win games, but they can't win when it counts, in my opinion. Back to Nashville real quick. Yeah, Nashville just kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, and I'm going to blame one player for this, and he's to blame for every team he has been on, and that is Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene is a locker cancer or some sort of cancer to any team. The Avs were good. Matt Duchene shows up. The Avs have a fallover. The Ottawa Senators have been to a Stanley Cup final in somewhat recent 12 years ago, 2007 against the Anaheim Ducks, and were decent for years to come. And even Guy Boucher coached a unknown Ottawa Senators team to Eastern Conference Finals with one good player and Anderson, their goalie. Then Duchene shows up. Boom! Down they go. And they are literally one of the worst teams in the NHL. And Nashville is a interesting situation. Well coached. I love everything about them. I can't believe they fired Laviolette. I think that was a little messed up, but
that was a terrible move.
I think that was a terrible move, and I like who they put in there, but he's not the right guy. In my opinion, when you can't coach an awesome Blues team to a playoffs, that's a problem. But yeah, you get Nashville. Anyway, I think Arizona can actually beat this team in the first round. I really do. They have Taylor Hall, which has now had some time to build himself around Phil Kessel, which I still cannot believe Phil Kessel went there because he's all butt buddies with Rick Tocchet, but that's a whole different ball game. Maybe the hot dogs taste better in Arizona. I don't know. Anyway, but I think Arizona can actually pull off quite the upset against Nashville on that one. And as far as Vancouver goes, they have the easiest team to play other than Pittsburgh, Montreal. I think Minnesota is another one of those older teams. You have 3 guys, and yes, I'm including Eric Stahl in that one, They're in their upper 30s, and they really that's a lot. That's a lot of toll to put on that team for sure. That's actually, I think that is the oldest team in the NHL if I'm looking at things correctly here. I think Vancouver can beat that team in four out of five easily. When you have Brock Besser and you have JT Miller on that team, those two guys alone are very scary to deal with. I've known JT Miller since down here in Tampa, and he was a Ranger as well. So I don't know him personally, so keep that in mind. But I've seen those guys. I've seen him play throughout the league, and he's a hidden gem that not many people pay attention to. And you got a fighter in Michael Furling who's actually 100% healthy. So you got a grinder, you got a speed, you got a score, and you got a good goal, and you got a good defenseman. And their goaltending is not too bad either.
There.
Yeah,
Peterson's
Peterson,
good.
yeah.
And now you have Tanner Pearson and Tyler Toffoli, who are ex-Kings, and they're back together, and they're like brothers practically. So their chemistry is also on fire too. So
maybe Vancouver will get their cup this year.
That's not going to happen. I can tell you that much right now. There's still a little bit ways to go, in my opinion. If there's an intriguing matchup that, other than my team, obviously, that I'm really looking forward to seeing, it's the Islanders and the Panthers. I love what the Islanders have done with that organization over the past literally 2 seasons, really, at this point.
And two amazing legendary coaches coaching both of those teams now. I mean,
a legendary GM.
That's a coaching matchup on the ice right there, not necessarily the players on the ice, because they both have very strategic coaching plans.
That's the one series that has a factor that no other series has, and it's speed. Who will be the fastest team out there on the ice? And they're both very known for having their speed skate. And they have Florida acquired Eric Haula from Carolina, and that's a huge acquisition, I feel. He's much like a Vincent Trocheck type player, but he actually can sniff out the goals, and he actually gets into the dirty areas a lot more than Trocheck did with Florida. So now you got a guy that will actually bury his head in the sand for those goals, and will get a few black eyes for it too. He won't care. So that's a big piece that does help out. Goaltending is a little meh. Bobrovsky is an excellent goalie, let's face it. He's an awesome goalie, but I've yet to really see him truly shine in this format. So if the weather down in South Florida helps his bones out a little bit and can actually get him going, let's hope that's actually the case. Yes, absolutely. So I think I could see Florida really making something happen with this one. I still think it's an Islanders series to take. But that's the most intriguing matchup I'm thinking about right now with this whole thing.
I think we've covered all of it, and we always ask our guests these last 2 questions. So tell us, who is your favorite hockey hunk?
Oh man, you're really gonna put me in that spotlight?
Men, all the men have answered it. We've had men and women on, so there's no shame in that.
Really gonna go there with me on that one, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if I had to pick one, because I'm a goalie guy, today's NHL, I'm gonna go with Henrik Lundqvist. Today's NHL.
And
I will throw
beauty.
A bonus.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I will throw a bonus out there, only because I had a sister that was a crush on this guy, and that was Bob Bugner. Not a well-known player, former Cane, obviously, former Panther, former Shark. So she would say Bob Bugner. I would say Henrik Lundqvist because it's goalie affiliation, but don't no homer on me on that one, everybody.
What about favorite hockey lady?
Ooh, I am going to go old school with you on this one. I was really fond of her in her playing days. I actually met her when I was 18 down here in Florida. She came to a tournament right before she went off to Olympics again. But Cami Granado is my hockey lady on this one. So
good one.
Really, I'm very fond of her. Not because of her attributes or anything like that, just because of her skill. What she meant on and off the ice, and how she accelerated herself throughout her time. So really well-known ambassador for USA Hockey, and I think I'm going to go with her, absolutely.
Tell everybody where they can follow you, where they can find you. I know you have a YouTube channel. Give us all the links, and let's blast you out.
You got it. So my YouTube channel is called the Florida Caniac Network. You can simply just search Florida Caniac, and I pop right up. Obviously, we're in the middle of our season 2 full length season on this one, and usually the season ends right about now with everything going on. But hey, we have more hockey to talk about, which is great. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and they're all the same handle, at Florida Caniac. And yes, it is a trademark item, so I get paid every time somebody wants to talk about it. Yay! If I wanted to go that route, but yes, it is fully trademarked. So all my feeds are at Florida Caniac.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast talking to you. I think this is probably one of the only episodes where we've had so far where we've talked in-depth hockey, and I think that just kind of shows kind of guy you are, kind of content you put out. So if you want more in-depth hockey, go follow RJ at the Florida Caniac.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.